So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Roswell in the 21st century is a detailed re-examination of the Roswell UFO crash case. I have studied the evidence for more than 30 years, and I now put that evidence under a microscope in a cold case examination of the facts. These facts might not please everyone. They are based on my comprehensive investigation that took years to complete, but they do lead to the conclusion that whatever fell was not built on Earth. The best of Project Blue Book is based on the 22-year-long investigation conducted by the Air Force. But the book goes far beyond that, bringing in evidence that was uncovered long after Project Blue Book was ordered terminated. Using facts that were unavailable to the Air Force investigators, I was able to prove that the Air Force manipulated the data and drew unrealistic conclusions about the UFO sightings reported to them. My different perspective shows there was more to Project Blue Book than even the Air Force knew. Both books are available at Amazon.com.
Join Patty Conklin and Healing Within Radio each week. More than entertainment, Healing Within offers educational, useful tools for everyday life. Listen for help overcoming fear, anxiety, and depression. Patty knows about eliminating cancer, MS, dementia, Parkinson's, and a host of illnesses that we face every day. Life can be good. Life is good. All you need are simple tools to start changing your life. Start right now by visiting pattyconklin.com, PATTICONKLIN. No matter where you are in the world, you can work with Patty through Skype, phone, or in person, visiting one of her retreats in Georgia. Visit pattyconklin.com today or call our offices at 404-474-0086. That's pattyconklin.com or call 404-474-0086.
Welcome to another episode of Cal's Corner Radio Show here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is the one and only Rob McConnell. Now, folks, as you know, and again I say this as anyone who listens to the show regularly knows, I always say at the top of the show, because it's true that we cover everything from politics to the paranormal. Every episode's different. A lot of it's freeform, unscripted. I really like doing it that way. This episode's going to be no different, except we have a special guest tonight, Melissa Martell. We'll come back to her in a moment, and then the rest of the show, of course, is with her. But let's do a couple of updates real quick. On a personal note, I want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes. And the reason I mention this is because it's not to hide my birthday. My birthday is just my birthday. And I wasn't born on Friday the 13th. I was born on a Tuesday. I've actually had people say, well, you're a debunker. You must have been born on Friday the 13th, whatever. Be amazed at what that number does with New Age people. But anyway, I got 1 hour sleep, and I'm not complaining because I was up all night thanking people from around the world. I've been to 27 countries over the last couple of decades and a lot of friends around the world. And of course, because they're ahead of the time zones, I got birthday wishes first from Germany, then India, and it was great talking to people. And I was sad to hear from friends in Europe how cities like Prague are kind of shutting down now because of the coronavirus. And, you know, drinking beer literally every day of your life is a Czech way of living. The reason beer is subsidized over there is because literally there'd be a revolution if they didn't do that and keep the price low. It's still about $1 for, a pint of beer like it used to be when I lived there. And I was sad to hear from a friend of mine there that it is basically a ghost town now, Prague, of all places, because of the coronavirus. Much of Europe is in lockdown. So I want to share with you real quickly as we switch to out of the birthday issue. But again, I wanted to thank you. And Melissa, thank you for the birthday wishes as well. Our guest tonight. I do want to tease Rob about something, though. He didn't wish me a happy birthday, but I found out why. Rob is actually trying to arrange, folks, for me to get from him a Pleiadian hunting rifle. Once I get that, then we're going to take this to a whole new level. He's trying to actually get it for me. So God bless him. He's off the hook, so I'll keep you updated. All right, now switching to something really serious here, back to the coronavirus. Basically, communist China, which bears all responsibility for this pandemic, around the world, they're now blaming the U.S., and it's becoming serious. It's their fault, but they're blaming the U.S. for creating this, saying it's kind of a warfare against China. And Russia, of course, is jumping in because they'll exploit either issue. They play both sides of the Chinese fence. This is really serious because these allegations are coming from officials that can only say this publicly if they have permission from China's dictator for life, Mr. Xi Jinping. They can't say this. Now, I'm referring to one specific individual, Li Jianjiao, and he sends an article around the world, and he's got tons of followers. He says that, this article is important, please spread it. Further evidence that the U.S., created this and everything else. He's actually officially accusing the U.S. of this, and this bozo, to be polite, is the official mouthpiece for the Chinese government. This is official released stuff. And then I'm looking at another article in front of me. I just got this sent to me from friends in Asia. And Xinhua News, which is, again, an official mouthpiece of the Communist Party, is basically saying, you better be careful, America, because we control 90% of the pharmaceutical ingredients that you use to solve this problem that we created. They don't admit that part, of course. So basically, China can stranglehold anybody they want economically as long as they need something manufactured in their backyard. That's what happens when you outsource your future to somebody else. Imagine if you lived your life, your very existence, you've got a company, or let's say your life, everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you do is outsourced to somebody else. What happens when that person doesn't deliver or cuts you off or gives you something that kills you or makes a lot of people sick? Well, it affects you because when you put all the eggs in one basket, guess what happens? Unless you control the basket, hello, you're hosed. It's just a question of when, how, why, by whom, and so on. So being the author, and I'm not the only one, I admit I got a copy of a paper that was actually pulled down by the Chinese Communist Party. It identified where the viruses came from. I quoted from this paper. This article called Exposing Cause and Cover-Up of the Coronavirus Outbreak in China is in the current issue of the X Chronicles newsletter. You can read it there yourself. There's an update coming out where basically all of the important issues are nailed, and this is being added to it. So real quickly, the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because this individual is accusing the U.S. on behalf of the Chinese government of basically causing all of this. So what I did is I took advantage of Twitter and exercised my freedom of speech, and I tweeted this guy. And I don't care who he is. He's a human being. That's all that's relevant. And I said, you, comrade, are a liar. I'm reading my tweet here. You can look it up. Go to Kal Korff. It's my tweet page on Twitter. It's public. I said, this article proves it. And it says it was published in India last week. It was in Daily World newspaper. And a follow-up article is coming, citing more data. Your dictator for life, Xi Jinping, must be proud of you. You can't lie like this without his permission. Pathetic. Folks, that's my view. And I don't care who he is. I'm going to tell you straight up, you don't play politics with the viruses or pandemics or things like this, and people do. I've got Trump supporters who are attacking me on my Facebook page. You can look it up, where one guy, a friend, ironically, but he loves Trump, says I'm not a real American because, I'm criticizing Trump for this pathetic response the U.S. has had. Well, I'm in the majority, folks. Squeeze me. Anyway, so what I've done is I fired back on this. I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to stoke it up because there is no question China is guilty. In fact, I think the world should give free coronavirus tests to everybody who needs it. There's only 3 symptoms that are needed. I was at a hospital today checking this out in person. I took a photo. I'm going to send it to Rob in an update. And it simply lists the 3 simple criteria needed to get a coronavirus test, which good luck finding it if you're an American. Don't worry, folks, Trump's on top of it. Independent of that, I believe the world should give all the coronavirus tests that they need to get on top of this thing and then bill China. They can do it, but they don't have the balls to do it. And that's pathetic because, again, no sane nation or sane leader would outsource vital, strategic anything to any other country. If a nation cannot be self-sufficient in all that matters, it needs to live its life and be that nation accordingly. America is the world's only superpower. What, when China decides to let us be that? Have we devolved to that? Yes, that's where things stand now, because if China chokes us off, we're choked. And of course, they love it. And we're stupid enough to do it because of this thing called greed. All right, let's switch another subject here to our guest for the rest of the show. Sorry I talked a bit longer than I wanted to, but again, that Pleiadian hunting rifle has me a bit distracted. I'm sorry about that. I'll talk to Rob about that later. Okay, so without any further ado, one big change we're going to make on this show, and I know I'm late in doing this, is I want to have more guests. And, our guest tonight, Melissa Martell, she is the host of the Secret Door podcast. And I got to know her because she was kind enough to have me on her show for 2 hours, or 2 episodes rather. And we could have talked for weeks. And it was free form. There was no script. We just talked and she recorded it and had a great time. We've been in touch since then a lot. And I said, hey, I'd like to have you on my show and we'll do the same thing. We'll free form it. So I can't tell you what we're going to talk about other than a few general things. We're going to certainly talk about the paranormal. Of course, there will be certain subjects that come up that would be logically included in that. So without any further ado, Melissa, welcome. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show, Cal.
Oh, anytime. Did you get your shopping done?
Friday the 13th. I was born on the 13th as well. And this Friday the 13th was madness. I live on an island. Okay. I went to Costco and there's, our prime minister, I'm in Canada, so our prime minister's wife was diagnosed with coronavirus and yes. The Coca-Cola company here saying they're going to shut down. We're on an island. We rely on BC ferries. They're talking about shutting down for 4 days. So it was the insanity. I couldn't even believe it. It's gotten every day that this escalates, it gets worse and worse. So it was pretty crazy. I thought I was getting a little claustrophobic. I couldn't even move in the aisles. It was madness. People are lining up. They know when the toilet paper is going to be there. So they wait. And there was one lady, she had like probably 20 packs stacked up on a thing. I don't know. Maybe she's going to sell them. I can't imagine she needs them all. So it's pretty gross.
Wow. Were you able to get everything you needed despite the chaos?
I was able to get what I needed, but it certainly didn't involve Lysol, disinfectants, and toilet paper. And people were just. The unfortunate thing is, there's some people who need the toilet paper. They can't get it because there's people who are being greedy. And I read an article about this whole fear thing, and it's people, when you tell them all they have to do is wash their hands and be safe and just not go around large groups, that doesn't
Melissa,
compute.
we have to cut in. We'll come back to that. Thank you. We have to cut for a commercial real quick, okay?
No worries.
Yeah, no problem.
Are you looking for psychic services that empower as well as provide accurate information? Jenny is a third-generation psychic with extensive esoteric training. A practicing professional intuitive for over 30 years, her accuracy is astounding. While most psychics can read what will happen to you if you don't change directions, Jenny understands the future is subjective. While there is a river of time we all traverse, that river has many waves, eddies, currents, and tributaries from which to choose. With Jenny as your guide, you can explore the many possible outcomes in the river of time and navigate your course to the one of your liking. Take control of your future. Book your life-changing session with Jenny today at www.gen-e.net. That's www.gen-e.net.
Mission Evolution is dedicated to the well-being of the planet and animals, as well as the evolution of humankind. One major factor threatening all three is increasing toxicity. Heavy metals and other environmental toxins are poisoning our bodies, deteriorating our brains, blocking our spiritual connection, and shortening our lives. Yet these poisons are extremely difficult to remove. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I recently became aware of a product created from the marriage of nature and nanotechnology called Vitality. It's formulated from zoolite, whose crystalline structure binds toxins, gently carrying them out of the body. The light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. Clear your body, shine your light into the world. Visit vitalityhappens.com for a 20% discount. Enter code PATHHOME.
In the mid-1990s, I was approached by a young woman who believed she'd been abducted by alien creatures. In conversations, I began a journey that took me not into the world of interstellar travel, but back through time into past lives. Under hypnotic regression administered by a professional rather than describing abduction, Jenny, as she is called, begins to tell a tale of horror in 19th century London. Her unbelievable past life seems to connect with Jack the Ripper and other monsters of the past. Throughout the session, Jenny provides a rich detail of her past lives that links some of the most horrific killers in history to one another. Using the resources of a university library in the pre-internet's day, I was able to verify some of Jenny's claims. She has knowledge that wasn't readily available to a suburban housewife. Does this prove the reality of her tales? Conversations attempts to answer that and other provocative questions. Conversations is available at Amazon.com.
Welcome back to the second segment here on Kal's Corner Radio Show and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. All right, Melissa, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you for the commercial break, so please continue. You were talking about this article you had read and the fear factor. Yeah.
Yeah, when people, they see washing their hands is just too simple, and this whole hoarding stuff it's just a way to control. They feel this is a massive thing, facing them, so they have to take these drastic steps for survival.
Yeah, it's literally, I'm surrounded by the same kind of thing you are. People have come up to me, just strangers, just seeing me walking around. They think I'm looking for toilet paper or something. And I'm like, no, I'm just walking around minding my own business, doing whatever I need to do. And everybody's out of it. And it's funny because they think that toilet paper, and I've asked people, do you know that a virus is different from a bacteria? And they're like, yeah. And I'm still waiting for the light to go on because they say they know the difference. But obviously, based on what they're doing, they were asleep in their science class. And it's pathetic. And then the media, I think, is culpable. They love the click-throughs that are going on now. I mean, their traffic is way up. I mean, Trump has been great for their traffic. But, now you've got this going on. So anyway, so I'm glad that worked out for you. I'm sorry you have to go through that. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I just thought you went shopping. I knew it'd be crazy because it's crazy everywhere now.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's no matter.
Mm-hmm.
It said that the hysteria is all over North America. And you know what? By the time the weather warms up, people will be looking at themselves like, oh, what was that about?
Well, the thing is, I mean, anybody can Google this. The fact is that the how do you call it? The total number of deaths from regular influenza is greater than, of course, this virus. Now, I realize this thing is just beginning, but even the death rate is not as high as it would be, for example, if this was a deliberately designed bioweapon, unless it was deliberately designed to be inefficient. There's no genetic evidence that it is. In fact, it seems to be a mutation of the SARS virus. It did originate from the original lab of the source of the SARS virus. And the reason it seemed to survive in the horseshoe bats, based on the science papers I read, is because the bats have a higher temperature in their bodies, and the higher temperature keeps the virus at bay. And that's why anything above 70, I think 5 degrees roughly, will kill the thing, So this thing's going to disappear thanks to Mother Nature, especially in the Middle East and places like that. But then what happens when the Earth cools down again next winter? And nobody's prepared. So, this is where it's kind of like, to use an analogy, bend over, grease up, because it's going to come back. And China's not going to change its ways. I mean, they're communist and they're China. And and I know that you probably saw the article. I'll ask you, did you see the article?
I did.
About the in Iran, the burning pits are so big that you can see them from space, And I'm not talking about
what is their death rate? Are they expecting to have much more if they have such big burial pits?
Well, for one thing, to do it in the open is just, I'm sorry, get a clue. All right. I realize that, you're not going to infect the whole planet by doing that. But, come on, at least China's doing it in enclosed containers, like if somebody got cremated, that's what they're doing. Iran's doing, the way they've done it for, 1,600 years or longer. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So Iran, because their top leadership has been infected and died, some members of it, including the top advisor to Ayatollah Khomeini himself, what's happening is that they're, of course, not being honest with the number of people who are dying. They're underreporting it. And, of course, their media is full of reports that the Americans and Israel, of course, have engineered a bioweapon to target them. So you have this, anytime a crisis breaks out, they use any excuse to blame Jews in America because they're the big and little Satan. China will blame us. This is the stupidity that keeps going on. And until the UN bothers to do its job and tell these signatories to these universal conventions they sign that they're not supposed to behave this way and do things like this way. China is supposed to not torture people, right? They're a signatory to that agreement, but you never know that to its torture victims. So as long as that continues, the world is doomed in the sense of it's never going to, things are only going to get worse because we're not really solving any of the problems. So anyway, this isn't about me, it's about you. But so you got home safely. And then what about the next week? How are you going to handle all this, or do you not know yet?
Well, I'm not going to panic. They will have, like, the BC Ferries is talking about not having, I think it's mostly passenger ferries. I'm not going to go into hysteria. There will be food. They will get it to the island. I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you control. I'm not really jumping into the hysteria that I'm going to starve to death. I mean, we've got enough stuff. I've just spent $400 today. We have enough stuff. I think we'll be okay for a while. And it was just a normal shop. I just bought some extras, and I'm not really jumping into the hysteria because it's getting to the point where there's people who are going around, buying large quantities of, Lysol wipes, and they're selling them online for a fortune and making a profit. And it, just because people believe it says it, kills coronavirus, which is like the common cold.
Right.
It's not this new COVID-19. So there's just so many people taking advantage of this ridiculous hysteria, and it just doesn't have to be this way, where people are hoarding more food than they could eat for, a year.
Yeah, exactly. There's always been and there's always going to be a segment of the population, as you know, that are doom and gloomers. You may remember that around the year 2000, there was millennial madness, everything from the Hell-Bopp comet insanity. But, historically, even every 100 years, people freak out if Jesus doesn't come, some of them, and kill themselves. It's ridiculous. It just, you don't even know where to begin to do this. So I have to ask you this question, and I ask everyone who's into this, and of course we've gotten to know each other, why study the paranormal? Why do you do that?
Well, I think it's really fascinating to look at how other people view the paranormal. I'm mostly into culture and modern occult practices and having guests on my show talking about that, but I think it's fascinating to look at where everybody came from this background. I like to look at it in a folkloric sort of perspective. So I have a lot of guests on that have views that are not exactly in line with mine. I'm highly skeptical, but I think it's important to open that up so I can actually view what it is they believe and form a really good opinion on it. But it's fascinating to be able to discuss different elements about something that people are saying they're experiencing, but science might say it doesn't exist. And I just like opening that dialogue and communicating with people about it and seeing where it came from and what things we have in common and perhaps what things we don't. But I mean, I do try to remain a really solid, grounded, in reality perspective, although it can be hard at times when you're dealing with certain topics and guests.
I think you stated that very eloquently and beautifully. Thank you. Very concise. For what it's worth, I guess a short way of putting it too is sometimes you have to bite your tongue,
Yes.
Think of the so-called greater good, whatever that is,
Some episodes, my tongue is almost bleeding.
Oh, I understand. What you said brought back a quick memory real quick where I remember one time Bob Dean comes up to me and he says, "I hear you're going to expose me." And I said, "Why? I've never even talked to you, met you. Hello, meeting you for the first time." And then his former wife, Cecilia, she came up to me and she literally wanted to kick my you-know-what because I was going to expose her man. Well, somebody had planted that rumor at the MUFON conference up at Seattle because they wanted to distract from the Billy Meyer expose that was launching the Spaceships of the Pleiades book. And I was showing for the first time the undercover footage we had taken. And I showed where the tree had moved, if Billy Meyer was telling the truth, and how it disappeared because suddenly the lake is there, then it's not there, So the tree moves up there. Magically for Billy. And I showed all this, and Michael Hesseman was in the front row, and it was quite an interesting thing. They videotaped, and so this all went down, and it was just this, insanity. And it's kind of like they get this idea of you that, oh, he exposed this, so he must not believe in anything. So what do you get hit with as far as, okay, I was on her show, or, she's skeptical of this. She doesn't believe in Bigfoot or ghosts. So she must be a CIA plant or debunker. What do you get tarred and feathered with, in other words?
I haven't exactly got a CIA plant. I'm usually pretty chill with my guests, but I did have a guest who, when I questioned him, because he had audio footage, like they were doing some sort of Bigfoot portal work, and when I questioned him about, I said, look, there's going to be people who are skeptical of this audio evidence because it's just audio. They might say it could be doctored or it's not really proof. And I got hit with that. What was it? Debunkers are kind of douchebags. I don't know how you could be in this field if you were a debunker. I can understand skepticism and, that sort of idea that you can't.
Okay. Hello? Yeah. All right. We're going to take a commercial break real quick, and we'll be back with Melissa Martell, our guest, and she'll continue talking about whatever she wants to. All right. We'll be right back.
How would your life change if you could develop the business and personal skills that you need in order to make more money? Do you want to learn how to achieve your big life goals faster? Then go to findhiddenmoney.com and get the Goal for It online course. The course teaches you how you can set and achieve your biggest goals while completely overcoming the roadblocks to your goals so that you can realize your dreams and imagine more success. Go to findhiddenmoney.com.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. Audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, Xzone Radio TV. For more information on the Xzone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Welcome back to the third segment here on Cal's Corner Radio Show and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is, of course, Rob McConnell. Melissa Martell is our guest. She is the host of the Secret Door podcast. You can find it on the internet. A very wonderful human being, and I do enjoy her show. I've been on it twice in 2 episodes. That's online as well. And as I got to know her, I thought it'd be great to have her on my show, and we would just freeform it, and that's what we're doing now. So I have no idea what the rest of these 2 segments remaining are going to be about. That's up to Melissa. But Melissa, continue. You were talking about the Bigfoot thing and the audio getting targeted.
Yes. Well, he basically, his deflection was that, only douchebags are debunkers. And I wasn't really trying to debunk him. I was just presenting a logical case, because when someone shows me audio footage saying, here, we went to this area that's filled with portals, that's a special area, and these things from another dimension are communicating with us, and they leave gifts, and they show me sounds. I mean, I could easily... I know friends who have done stuff where they've wanted to prove someone was doing something, and they made fake audio recordings. Like it's not proof that that's happening. It's proof that there's a bang on an audio recording. That's all that it's proof of. But they in their minds think that that's proof. And I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be a good host, but his repercussions was that it was a douchebag thing to be. And I just had trouble believing that his stuff about Skinwalker Ranch.
It might as well be
Yeah.
Skywalker. It's just a thrill, yeah.
Well, that's what this person actually said, was that there's portals opening up and a wolf smoking cigars are coming out and all this stuff. And when I said I find that hard to believe, he said, well, you really have to think of it as the canteen in Star Wars. I'm like, okay, you've been watching too many movies.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let's back up because, I'm into this stuff too. And I'll tell you, I can't believe, and I have to thank Stanton Friedman for this. God bless him. He started this whole debunker nonsense where he's got everyone believing in modern day culture. Thank God, except for any credible dictionary, they didn't fall victim to this. He thinks, as debunkers are closed-minded people, right? Don't confuse me with facts. My mind is already made up, quote unquote, one of his famous Friedman-isms. Again, a close friend of mine and mentor, grew up with him as a kid, meaning he took me under his wing, etc. But still today, because of him, things like MJ-12, Roswell are widely believed. And then, of course, debunkers are evil people with closed minds. It goes downhill from there. Yet the dictionary says it means to separate fact from fiction, like decaffeinated means, no caffeine in coffee, duh. And the same person who will misuse the word debunker, like your guest, and most of the paranormal field and ufology, they still get it wrong. I spend so much time trying to remind them of that I have decided that going forward in every UFO book I'm going to do, and on my website, kalkorff.com, I've got this slide that is a page from the dictionary, American Heritage Dictionary, saying that debunking is separating fact from fiction. And that's a good thing, okay? And you have to hit these people over the head with it and say, why would you be against anybody who tries to separate fact from fiction? And if you're a credible guy, that means you're against yourself. So the whole thing implodes. Yep. I must say that, being away for a while because of being in India and things like that, and thankfully I was really happy to do a lot of other different journalism for, thousands of articles and not bother with UFOs and paranormal. Is quite refreshing. The view from India about all this, and this is ironic, they're the most superstitious planet or country in the world and the most corrupt democracy, which is an interesting combination. They believe in all kinds of crazy things, but they laugh at the paranormal stuff that goes on in the West. They think it's stupid, that we're ignorant.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they don't really believe in life on other worlds. They think they don't really go there, but they've got 550 million gods, and each one's got a function. I mean, they got it all figured out. So what are some of the most interesting examples of your hosting so far that have really left an impression on you that, let's say, it would be in a unique way? Now, that can mean whatever. Unique can be relative, good or bad. But what are some of the memories you want to share with us?
Well, in a good way, I have a lot of occult practitioners and lecturers that come on, and they will lecture on darker elements of the occult. Say they talk about Aleister Crowley, but their lectures, they base it on historical facts about that individual. And I find it really interesting that a lot of people demonize certain occult practitioners, but when I have scholars who lecture, like say from the United Kingdom on, they really are very logical. And same with any Satanists I've talked to. I'm not a Satanist, but I've talked to them, and they're very logical. They don't believe in gods and stuff. They're atheistic for the most part. And they're very logical about the way they approach things. And another person that has come onto my show talked about near-death experience. And she had a near-death experience, and she came out of it, instead of being more artsy-fartsy, say like me, she became more science-orientated, dropped everything and became a scientist and went and got her doctorate, and is very sciencey and logical. And still, once it talks about her near-death experience and what actually happened, and hopes that science will, explore it and discover it one day. And she's very logical. So I those things I find really fascinating, and I want to go down that realm where people are, looking at topics in more of a scholarly way, where they don't just go, oh, it's woo-woo, and I want to call people to follow me, and I'm going to psychically predict everything. They actually want solid documents talking about things.
Well, nothing wrong with that. If you keep that up, though, that makes you automatically buy any credible dictionary a debunker. You are aware of the consequences, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, to whatever.
Well, if you're prepared to be that brave and take that responsibility on, then go for it.
Yeah, well, it's better than listening to people tell me they're Pleiadians and they're channeling Pleiadians and yeah, I've had that. So, or someone talking about their genitals and semen for 20 minutes on a podcast or whatever because they've been abducted by an alien. I know it sounds harsh for me to be critical, but it's like you're just sort of like whoa, where are you going? Like it's bizarre stuff. I can't even go there. And when I'm interviewing these people, sometimes I actually zone out when they're talking about this stuff because I don't actually know how to, like I don't know how to interact with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's so distant from anything that I can comprehend.
Yeah, I completely understand, and it's like, yeah, I guess the only consistency is that they're consistently inconsistent. They undermine what they do by what they do. One quick example, I remember this guy, Deep Prasad, recently. He accused me of making up something, this non-disclosure event, which you know about from last October, where I announced the Annie Jacobson stuff and all this stuff we're working on. And some of the stuff I talked about on your show and Steve Campion's, of course. And some researchers have hundreds of these slides from this event. They're in this damn shows. And he's saying, no, it's not there. It never happened, whatever. And he had the wrong episode. And Steve Campion had to tell him, hey, essentially, you deep neuron, ironically, your name, you got the wrong episode. You're barking up the wrong tree. And of course, he now is an experiencer. So I basically called him a liar. I said, yeah, and I'll bet you your smartphone didn't work when they abducted you or whatever you think happened. So basically, he's enjoying Daddy's trust fund, from what I've heard. And I'll be happy to debate him or whatever. But I think what you just mentioned, and that's the whole reason I'm on this little diatribe here, is I believe that there is a wave coming. It's already in effect. You're one of them. Steve's another. I'm one. Rob's one. Where there is going to be this kind of course correction or reckoning. Even Chantana and some other people, and of course Erica Lukes, they're starting to hold people's feet to the fire. People like George Knapp, who is a carnival barker, as far as I'm concerned, for, Bigelow and Lazar and all that. He's absolutely violated journalistic ethics, and I think I could beat him in a debate on that point, as well as if there was any ombudsman who oversaw both of us as journalists. These people should be held accountable and exposed. And all of us have pieces of this huge expose pie. And it's great that we're all working together and, moving this forward. And I think it's wonderful that you're putting this direction forward because I think it needs to be done. You are absolutely right that there is a scholarly approach to all of this. And that needs to be the way that things are done.
Yeah. And I won't get into any names, but there was a writer, he writes about he produces a book all the time, whether it's Shadow Man or whatever. And a lot of his account, it's not a scholarly done book. It's almost fiction. And he presents it as this happened. And a lot of stuff, you'll say, well, where did you get this account? And he's literally maybe been at a show or a conference or a Paracon, and someone's just said it to him in mentioning, and he just adds it. That's just, that's fine if you want to write that, but you have to say this is somebody's account. You can't, that's not real. Yeah, right. So it's not actually like some sort of thing you've investigated thoroughly. You've just sitting at a conference and someone's come up to get a book signed and told you something. It's, it's a story from somebody.
So basically, he's a folklore petri dish. Basically.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine if someone wants to be a folklore, and tell stories, but they should say this is like we're around the campfire, people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have to give proper context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We have to take a break here real quickly, and we'll be back for the fourth and final segment. We'll continue with Melissa Martell. She is the host of the Secret Door podcast. Please check out her show on the internet, and we'll be back after this commercial break.
So I was watching the X-Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
What's making?
In the mid-1990s, I was approached by a young woman who believed she'd been abducted by alien creatures. In conversations, I began a journey that took me not into the world of interstellar travel, but back through time into past lives. Under hypnotic regression administered by a professional rather than describing abduction, Jenny, as she is called, begins to tell a tale of horror in 19th century London. Her unbelievable past life seems to connect with Jack the Ripper and other monsters of the past. Throughout the session, Jenny provides a rich detail of her past lives that links some of the most horrific killers in history to one another. Using the resources of a university library in the pre-internet's day, I was able to verify some of Jenny's claims. She has knowledge that wasn't readily available to a suburban housewife. Does this prove the reality of her tales? Conversations attempts to answer that and other provocative questions. Conversations is available at Amazon.com.
Mission Evolution is dedicated to the well-being of the planet and animals, as well as the evolution of humankind. One major factor threatening all three is increasing toxicity. Heavy metals and other environmental toxins are poisoning our bodies, deteriorating our brains, blocking our spiritual connection, and shortening our lives. Yet these poisons are extremely difficult to remove. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I recently became aware of a product created from the marriage of nature and nanotechnology called Vitality. It's formulated from zoolite, whose crystalline structure binds toxins, gently carrying them out of the body. The light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. Clear your body, shine your light into the world. Visit vitalityhappens.com for a 20% discount. Enter code PATHHOME.
Welcome back to the fourth and final segment of Cal's Corner radio show here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff. I'm your host, of course, and Rob McConnell is the executive producer. We're continuing here with Melissa Martell, who is she's the host and producer, of course, of her show, the Secret Door podcast. I encourage everybody to go online to check out the episodes. They're well worth listening to. Melissa, we were talking about some of our experiences here with the paranormal and stuff. With the remaining segment that we have, and what I'll need is kind of probably the last minute to wrap things up. What would you like to share with us? This is your segment, so what would you like to share with the world, as they say?
About what I do or what I believe or experiences?
Well, anything you want to, meaning we've started this with the coronavirus. You shared the horror story you had to endure today down at Costco and stuff. That was a different subject. And then now we've talked about Bigfoot portals and so on. And you brought up, of course, Skywalker Ranch, which might as well is Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, they're just as real. And by the way, I must tell people, while this is on my mind, freeform here, Bob Kiviat's lawsuit is moving forward. The judge has ruled that everything's on. This is wonderful. And Congressman Daniel Marriott, yes, of the Marriott hotel chain family, that guy is being served. It should happen any time now. If it hasn't happened by the end of today, it absolutely will go down next week. And then once that happens and I get a copy of that, then I promise you a very interesting update, because Brandon Fugel, who of course is I'm the real owner of Skinwalker. And of course we knew that and exposed him back in October in the expose article on this. He was outed then. It is not true. He was outed now for the first time. The current Vice piece on this is wrong. And I've informed both Fugel that he's going to be prepared as a witness. I'm putting on my website, kalkorff.com, a special update area. And I'll, of course, link it with anything Rob wants me to, so that people can follow this as this goes forward. The judge real quickly has ruled that this case will be solved before this year ends. She's going to impose that. It looks like the trial is going to begin sometime in late July. So this is going to be interesting, because even people like CIA's Ronald Pandolfi will be called as witnesses. And this is awesome because everybody gets held under penalty of perjury and under oath. Never happened before. So anyway, back to Melissa. What you had said triggered that thought real quick, and I needed to give that update. All right. So of all the areas of the paranormal, let's say aliens, visiting Earth, and I don't understand why that's paranormal. To me, that would be normal. It would be life is normal out there. Duh, hello. But they even put JFK's assassination in the paranormal. What areas interest you the most of it?
Well, right now, other than folklore, right now I have a deep interest in people's artwork as magic. So I hear people talk about curses and all this stuff, and because I talk with a lot of occult people, and I like to have writers and film directors come on and talk about the process. And when I'm talking to them, I realize that there's not any bibbity bobbity boo stuff going on, or poof, it's in my hand. Their process is creating a feeling, a vibration, whether they're using instruments or they maybe they're chanting some words, maybe they're creating an atmosphere. And I'm interested in talking to them about their processes, what they do, what they believe. I've never really had a big interest in aliens per se. But I am interested in the psychology behind it, whether it's sleep paralysis. I am always interested in psychology and people's, I had one person on my podcast when he was about abduction, and when I questioned him on, because he was in Vietnam, when I questioned him on PTSD, he got really, really agitated with me. It sort of struck a chord, I think, with him. But I feel that's a fair question to say, hey, sort of delve in. But sometimes, I realize that what I want to know, these deep psychological things from childhood that might be affecting people's behaviors or their beliefs, are places where guests are not willing to go quite yet. But it's things that I'm sort of interested in delving into. And I also, I just like it when people bring in, really concrete conversations about history or occultism, and it's not so woo-woo, just feel good and follow me and believe anything I say. It's like, here's this document, this person did this, and you can go check it out for yourself. And I don't care if it's Thelemite, Satanist, or Christian. I would interview them and get to know about what they think, and if I have some skeptical comments about it, fine. And then I'd let the listener form their own opinion. But I'm highly interested in the art form that their occult belief takes.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And of course, as you correctly described it, there's some sort of process they go through that, whatever it is, I don't know, there's various terms for it, like woo-woo crowd, as you know, and but whatever you said, bip bop something. I don't know what to call it, but whatever it is, it's scary because, when I look at my friends, for example, I've got people ranging from people who tell me with a straight face, and they really believe it, that they have an implant in their tooth from an alien, to people who are really certain God could never exist because it's not logical, etc. So they know everything. And it's all over the map, and they're all over the world. And I just wonder what collective, whatever mechanism allows people to eventually, if they make a point to do it, get along, be friends, despite this weird spectrum of beliefs where you just want to say to your buddy, hey, you're just full of whatever on this point. They don't even have those conversations. I was shocked in India, to have friends who literally would, even Daily Post newspaper wouldn't open its office to open the paper until the astrologer had set the date. I was telling the owner, seriously? So it's like, okay, as your special advisor, I disagree with this. But anyway, I didn't win the argument. And I got to see my first Hindu whatever ceremony and the holy rice and all the other stuff they did. I got tons of imagery of this stuff. So what do you think about, say, the Far East, much older cultures, their longtime belief in this stuff, before the Western, mysticism? I mean, Western civilization just is not as old as Eastern. But what do you think about that? Do you think there is some truth to some of it? For example, there is a valid scientific case for some of Chinese herbal medicine, and it's quite old.
Yeah, I mean, science is only going to be able to delve so deep into some of these things. I was talking someone about ancestral magic, and I think there's something to be said about traditions. Like, you go in folklore and you see that traditional folklore and things handed down. There's something within, and it may not make sense logically, but there's something within people, and that is about holding traditions that makes them feel bonded within a community and with their family and with something ancestrally. They may do it through certain religious practices. I might do it through researching ancestral DNA. And I'm not, because I'm not so religious, but I think there is something there that's an adhesive in certain cultures. I mean, when Rome fell, there's Christianity shows up. There always has to be some cohesion happening there. So I mean, herbs do things. Herbs have properties. They can do certain things in human beings. But when it comes to spiritual practices or meditation and our ancestral magic, I think it's just some sort of psychological adhesive that keeps groups together. And I think you could probably tie that into how cults operate psychologically. There's something that people are looking for that makes them, I don't know, maybe it triggers some sort of endorphins in their brain. I don't know the science behind it, but there's something there that cohesively keeps them together spiritually, and they need that. I'm more independent, and although I do have that need to bond with my family, but maybe it's just an expansion of bonding with your culture, is an expansion of bonding with your ancestry.
Well, I understand your point. For example, in India, real quickly, they fly red flags in Punjab on their balconies, and it's to keep evil spirits away. And these are on a lot of the houses, including from people who have PhDs and they work in hospitals. And they're not superstitious, but yet they do this. And it's cultural superstition. It reminds me of some Jews in America where they don't really believe in God. They don't really believe the Exodus happened, all that stuff. But yet they will do everything Jewish, including the Sabbath. They'll honor the holidays. And I find that as a Jew personally offensive from the standpoint that the very definition of a Jew is to believe in Yahweh and all that. That's the point of being Jews. Just like to be a Christian, you have to believe in Jesus Christ. You can't also believe in Buddha as a god and claim to be a Christian. So it implodes itself. And so there's this, again, rationalism mechanism. People do want to belong to the greater good collective, whatever. But you have to surrender yourself to these so-called higher, stronger powers in the cults for them to make any headway. And of course, they exploit everything. I think probably the biggest sinner of this is organized religion, because they have laughed all the way to the bank and have killed a lot of people throughout time in the name of God, playing the guilt trip. Remember, you used to be able to buy forgiveness to the Catholic Church? Yeah, so there you go. Cough up the dough, and God forgives you. Thank you,
Yeah, it's pretty hypocritical.
It is, but what goes on in somebody's head who would actually believe? It's one thing to believe, what Jesus said, and I don't think people have a problem with what Jesus said. They have a problem with what people claim he said. He didn't say start the Crusades and go kill everybody. But that's what happened in the name of God. And of course, it shouldn't be like that. But that what you have to do to give up or surrender, to do this, it's ridiculous. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Melissa. We'll have you back on, and we'll stay in touch, of course, and good luck, especially in the next